Hey guys, welcome into Something Like Therapy. It's good to be back with you guys. It's been a while since Jess and I have done an episode, but we are back to do one on communication today. So hopefully you stick around for that. And without further ado, the show. Hey guys, welcome in.
Hey guys, welcome back.
I'm not gonna lie, this is very strange right now because it's been a while since we've recorded, and apologies for that.
Yeah.
I know last time we said when we took a little not vacay,
what is a
hiatus? There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
That we said that we'd be back, and then we did like a few, and then kind of fell off again. So
we recorded
apologies.
I think we recorded a couple, but we never did we never actually put them out there, and they weren't very good. Yeah, they were.
It's because you were drunk that night.
I think I was.
You were just rambling.
Yeah, that was a long break. I think it was much needed.
Every break you take is always not like you, like anyone. Any break you take is always needed. No one's ever come back from like taking time off of work or school or just whatever and been like, yeah, that was just the worst. Like, I wish I could have just been busy that whole time.
Right? No, seriously. And I mean, we had a lot going on. We're still have a lot going on, but I think this has been kind of tugging at our hearts for quite a while now to come back. This is something we're really passionate about. We really love doing.
Yeah, we just ultimately enjoy doing. It's nothing like we have to like, oh, we gotta go do like, it's just sit down and talk for an hour. Like, nice. Yeah. We do that all the time.
This is truly a hobby that we enjoy, and we initially started it because we love to talk, we love to communicate, and we love to, always bounce ideas from, with each other. And it's just, I mean, we've grown so much since we started doing this whole podcast thing. So I think we were just kind of hungry for it.
Yeah, like we said before, it pretty much started with the one of us saying, like, we always have these talks and they just kind of come out of nowhere. It could be like in the morning over coffee, or in the afternoon, or just at night while in bed, like trying to fall asleep. Just have these talks, and we just said, like, we should just record them. Yeah. And then, because because it sucks, then you can't, like, duplicate it. It has to, like, right there.
You can't.
We try to gather our thoughts for these, but it's like,
I mean,
something different when we first started talking about it.
Yeah, sorry about that. But no, I was going to say the topic that we're doing today, I mean, we're kind of duplicating it from last week because we were supposed to record this last week.
It's like Friday.
Yeah, it was last Friday. And we were like, we're going to get this, such a good conversation that we had. And we're going to do our best to duplicate it. But you're right. I mean, it's always the first original conversation that we have that we're like, oh, it's such a good, we're just really flowing. So hopefully it comes through.
Hopefully we remember some of those.
Just as good. Yeah. But we took a much needed break, and I think we're coming in with some fresh ideas, new perspectives.
New perspectives for sure.
Yeah, we're just completely different people. It's crazy how much,
like, you really can grow, or just, I mean, maybe grow is a big word, but just like, just look at things differently when you just take some time, or obviously when you're going through something, whatever, and get through it. But yeah, it's strange.
I hope our future episodes and topics and conversations reflect that, because I feel like we've grown. Not that we're like, oh my gosh, we're just we're
so enlightened people.
Just awesome people now. No, but I think just where we were back,
You're saying
September.
You hope it like comes through the episodes, like you can hear or feel the growth.
I hope that people can kind of feel how the changes that have taken place, and where our hearts are now versus where they were back then.
Yeah.
I think we needed that break because there was a lot of things going on internally within us that we needed to kind of work through. And I wish you guys could see us physically, but there also has been physical transformation, and that's been...
Thank you, strong man.
Yeah. That's I mean, I think it goes hand in hand, just.
Yeah, like when you, and we've talked about that too. We do an episode on that, but it's like when you are, conscious of like what you're eating, trying to be healthier with that, and then you're, consistently being active or consistently working out. Pretty much when you're just consistently working on your physical body, things kind of just begin to organize themselves like around you. Like you want to be better at maybe your finances, or now be better at, sleep habits, or, reading books. Like you're just more focused in and like locked in on things. So, if that's like a promotion or for getting out and working out, then so be it. But it just, it really is. Like,
yeah, for sure. And also one of the reasons I think I personally wanted to come back and do this is because as we were recording and doing all these episodes, we were hitting some pretty deep conversations and topics. And I think it really brought up a lot of stuff within us, within each other, that we needed to kind of like work through, sort through. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why we took such a long pause, because we dug deep the first, like 11 episodes?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. We kind of dug deep, and behind the scenes, there was even more work that was being done. But I think we needed a break to kind of integrate a lot of the things that we talked about, a lot of the points that we shared with you guys. Like we needed to stop and integrate a lot of them.
Yeah.
And not just talk the talk, but actually walk it. And I think that was part of the reason why we needed to stop. But the reason why I wanted to come back and continue doing this is because I want to continue that pattern of let's talk about some things and take some time to integrate them. So I think I know we were trying to get at least an episode once a week. I don't think might be able to really do that. Our schedule, I mean, who knows? If it calls it, if for some reason something comes up, we will, but we're not going to pressure ourselves like that. Again, I don't think we will, but if it comes up, it comes up. But I want to at least for sure once a month or twice a month.
Yeah.
Because for me, I think sometimes I needed some time to process some of the things that we talked about. I don't know. I mean, people that do podcasts, I think it's just because for us, we were talking about some deep issues, which I hope we can also go to lighter topics and lighter episodes where we can have just more fun. But, I think I needed, a little bit of time in between, episodes to kind of just apply some of those things. But anyways,
yeah, I mean,
there was a lot that kind of went on between that time that we took the break to now that I'm like, okay, I'm ready to come back. I'm ready to like dig deep into some of these new conversations.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, like we pretty much all the topics we kind of chose and have done episodes on, like we take from it as well. Like I don't know, somehow by me talking it out loud and then going back and listening, like I actually learned something from myself, like, and that's weird because I should have already known it because it came from me, but it's just weird. But anyways, like we take those, those episodes and all the information there, and kind of, incorporate it. And I think that's what like Jess was saying. Like we've kind of taken these months to, as we're growing, begin to like implement some of the things that we find, through our research and share with you guys. So I guess that's good how that works.
Yeah. And one of the things, going back to the whole physical transformation and all that, we took on the journey of getting our health under control and taking control of our bodies and what we eat and all that. And we kind of put a pin on that, for a while, for 4 or 5 years. We kind of just we would work out here and there. And, but I felt like it was something that we kind of left undone for a while. We left halfway through and, we kind of had to go back and like, okay, let's really take control of this. So, I think in a way kind of I felt like the same way about, our health journey. I feel like that about this podcast. Like we kind of left it not even halfway. Like we were just in the beginning, right? So I'm really excited to be back and to see where this goes.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So today...
That's done.
I know how. Well, let's pause it. I'll edit it later.
That Band-Aid hurt just a little bit. Not as bad as the first one, but Okay.
So we're good, right?
We're good. Yeah, I'm good.
So for today's topic, we decided, and again, this came up, like we said, like conversations just come up. And we're like, damn, we should have recorded it. We were on a walk on Friday, and I don't know why it got started. We were just talking about communicating and how, I think we were talking about a friend or whatever about communication and sometimes like how it's hard for a person to be able to communicate, maybe, just for whatever reason, and then how communication's hard. And then I told Jess, I was like, it's even with talking, because we were saying like maybe sometimes in texts or emails things get like misunderstood, like that Key and Peele episode when texting goes wrong. But it's like even in talking, like, because maybe like just before we dive into it, like this is the premise or foundational thought that came to this reason for the podcast, but saying like even when someone's talking, how they create the thought in their head and then their brain tells their voice or whatever to like say the words, maybe it comes out and that is accepted differently by the person they're telling. So it's like even in that sense, like you would think talking right there to one another, it should be clear and like you understand, but sometimes you can misunderstand someone, how they say something or what they're trying to say, even when you're right there with them. So that's crazy, like how important being good at communicating, or at least being conscious of how you're communicating and making sure it's accepted or making sure it's understood and all of that, like it's required.
Right. Exactly. And then and it's funny because you said, I remember you said something about, well, what the person says and maybe the other person takes it the wrong way. But I kind of made a point where it was like, well, maybe because the way the person says it isn't the way that they say it is actually how they really mean it. Meaning that, like how they initially say something, like their first response to, whatever, whether it's an argument or a misunderstanding, whatever it is, like that's the initial response. That's usually what that person is actually feeling.
Oh, it didn't have enough time to like, should I say it? Or
It
how
didn't
should I
filter
say
it, right? Mm-hmm. So it just like comes out, and then that's what that person's actually feeling. But then when they pause and they're like, wait. Yes, I might be feeling like this, but it's because of.
So then when they say like a Freudian slip, like
yes,
we're about certain things.
Yes,
like that was ultimately what you were thinking. Or
so communication, it has so many different like roots. If that, I don't know, could make sense. Where there's just so many different things where one sentence or one thing said can really have all kinds of different roots and meanings, because the person, and we talked about this, like when someone's talking, it's not just one person and the other person. Sometimes there's other people in the room with them, right? Like there's other parties involved, because there's other ideas or other thoughts, or and we'll go deeper into this, but communication is so complicated sometimes. Like it can be something that can make or break a situation. So
of course.
I don't know if you want to start going into like some of the points, but before we do, I just want to say this is, which I hope we haven't done an episode on this. I don't think we have, right? Okay.
I don't think
cool.
so.
Which I'm really surprised that we haven't. But this is one of the things, not one of the main reasons why we're doing a podcast, but honestly, I think one of the reasons why we're still married. Because we had to learn communication, and we had to learn, and we're still learning, we're still a work in progress, learn to communicate as clearly as possible.
Yeah, and it's like the more, like we came across something the other week, and it put a whole new spin on the communication part, where it's just like, I believe it was like some sort of marriage counselor or something like that, like something along those lines. But she was saying how, everyone understands that communication is the most important thing in a relationship. Like for the most part, everyone understands that. But like, even if you're a couple that like talks and you guys talk about everything, she said something like, you have to both understand like where it's coming from, like when your spouse or even yourself, like when you speak, because how you're responding, either the younger version of yourself or the current, more wise version. Like, how are you responding? And it could be, if something that is said to you is like triggers you, you respond differently than something that didn't trigger you. Like, obviously you're triggered, but it's like different parts of you or your brain, like how you respond. And it's just like, again, it adds a whole other level or depth to understanding good communication with one another. Like, it's just so many, it's like you said, it's a lot of roots, and it's very all over the place.
And that's kind of what I was trying to say with the whole different people in the room, because sometimes you and I could be having a conversation or an argument, and I mean, for some reason my mom's voice is in my head.
So that's what I said when you said like different people in the room, meaning like all your thoughts are also arguing against like one another or each other.
We bring all kinds of different parts of us into a relationship, whether we want to or not. And that doesn't just apply for, our relationship between a husband and a wife, but it could be, a friend, a coworker. All our relationships, our children, we take all kinds of different parts of us, and whether we like it or not, or whether we know it or not, those parts of us do play a part in your daily interactions and encounters, right? So we know that. But when you are in a marriage or in a relationship and you begin to try to communicate, we can have certain blind spots where we don't see that those past versions of us or those experiences are actually in the room with us, and now it's like kind of getting mixed up with the other people's, the other person's experience and relationships and all that, right? So you have to be very, very much aware of yourself emotionally, because if not, it gets pretty ugly.
Yeah, like you really begin when you start to understand like everything that you said, like how people bring with them so much. I mean, like we all know it as like baggage, but it's just like past emotional like events, threats, triggers, like, certain people, certain things or whatever, like, and then you are combining that with another person's whole list of things that they've gone through. So I mean, it's just harder it's harder and harder to believe, like, when people have like functioning healthy relationships, like it's like you almost want to like good for you guys,
right?
Like that's awesome, because it's hard, like it really is hard, like
it's like, show me your ways.
I know, like I don't know,
I'm struggling over here, but
and it makes it sad too that you realize there's so many marriages and relationships and even friendships that are so toxic, and the people don't even know, or they're just not aware like of the dynamic of that relationship, so they just think that's normal and they continue living on.
I want to say, and I hope this doesn't come off like judgmental, but people nowadays, people our age specifically, have no excuse for not learning to communicate. I seriously, like for me, okay, my mom and maybe your parents have a little bit more of a reason to have a harder time communicating, because they didn't have access to all the things that we have now. And even though they do have access to it now, I think it's harder for them to still process and comprehend half of the things that they're, because it's just, it is, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, whether you believe it or not, we're kind of evolving as humans. So it's harder for them. Yeah. For us, we have no excuse. Like, we have so many things, whether we want to or not. That shit pops up on TikTok. It pops up on Instagram, on your reels. All kinds of freaking clips of different, I mean, maybe on ours because we talk so much, but it's like constant reminders to communicate, to talk, to express yourself, to, it's all over the place.
I mean, like you said too, like that's also true. Like maybe it pops up because of the stuff we look at, and it's like, obviously knows what to give us. But it makes me think that there's people that, I mean, I know what you said, like by now you should just know, but like sometimes there's nothing around them, and even they just have relationships around them that all look the same, that like, well, that's just, that's how my mom and dad talk to each other, or that's how I just know to like talk. And it's like, it's sad, like they can't get, like they're not, I mean, even if they are, they're a little bit aware, but they don't have enough to like push them to like want to better themselves in the sense of
Yeah.
learning to
I mean, I
communicate.
guess they haven't been exposed to it as much, but I think if there's a desire within you to be part of the world,
Yeah.
nowadays especially, you can find a way to
Yeah.
learn to communicate.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a look. So the list that we're going to kind of go through them kind of quickly. Some of them kind of just obviously work together or are the same thing. But these are just things that we looked up on betterhealth.com in regards to just like relationships and communication, why it's important, all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. But some of the, they did give a list on, I guess, like how you should really approach communication in a relationship. Like pretty much, yeah, like how you should kind of like be prepared. But they were saying like you have to set time aside to talk, away from interruption. Like even if it sounds like cheesy or I don't know, just like you're being dramatic about it. Like no, be dramatic about it. Like say, look I scheduled a freaking block right here on our schedule on our calendar. Like this is when we're going to talk about this stuff, and let them know in advance because. The other point that it makes is like, think about what you're going to say beforehand. So it's like you want to give your partner, your spouse, like, hey, I really have some things I want to talk about or, I want to talk about this. So let's set some time. And then it gives them a chance to kind of think about, what they want to say too. So you don't want to bombard them out of nowhere.
Yeah. Okay. I really want to get to this first point because I have a perfect example.
Which point?
The first one.
Oh, okay.
Where, oh, you did go over it, right? So set aside time to talk without interruption.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, wait. From one another. Okay. Set aside without interruption from other people or distractions like phones, computers, and television. Okay. So I think this was actually the week before we decided to come back and do the podcast. We went out for a walk and we go on daily walks with our dogs, but I don't know. I can't remember exactly. I was saying something to you. I was sharing something with you and you were on your phone. And I said, I can't even remember what I said exactly. But I said something to you and your response was like, I know, huh? And you were totally like not.
It was like a robot.
Your response had nothing to do with what I had asked or commented on. Like. And I was just like, this fool did not even hear what I said. And he just like, I know, huh? And I'm like, and so we went on a walk and I told him, I told you, like, when I'm talking to you and like, if you weren't paying attention, I'd rather have you tell me like, you know what? I have no idea what you just said to me. Like, I was not present. I was not paying attention. I'd rather have you tell me that than to just pretend like you heard what I said and in a way dismiss me, like you not only not heard me, but you really aren't even interested in what I said because you were just like, and I know that's not your intention, but that's how I took it. Like, it was like, well, I don't know what the hell you just said and I don't really care. So I'll just pretend that I heard you and then we just move on from it. So I told you that day, like, I really rather have you tell me, like, be honest with me because it's not going to hurt my feelings because I do that sometimes.
Yeah. Were you right? Like, I said, like, oh, you do that and you're like, yeah, but I'll just be like, wait, what did you say? Like,
yeah, I'll be like, wait, what? Wait, okay, no, tell me again because I wasn't even here. And that happens a lot with a lot of people because we're so distracted with our phones. We're so distracted with just, what do we have to do?
Yeah, it's gotten harder to not to be present in a conversation.
Sometimes you need, like, even if it's just a minute, like, okay, wait, okay, let me kind of empty my thoughts out really quick and then give me a few seconds just so I can focus on what you're saying. Because some people need a little bit of time to transition over from one thing to another. It could be overwhelming for some people. But that's something that I realized that day was important to me because I'm like, I don't like feeling like, one, dismissed, and two, like, you really are not interested in what I have to say, and it wasn't important. It wasn't like something that I shared with you that I was like, oh, I need to know that you heard me. But it was just more of the being present part
Yeah.
and knowing that like I can count on you, you know, when I need to share share something with you or whatnot. Yeah. Sorry.
So remember, like I said, when you want to talk to your partner about something, to let them know in advance, so you don't bombard them and then they have a chance. Just kidding. No, we've talked about that before, but yeah,
And it
that was
doesn't always
something.
play out like that, right? Like,
No.
of course, there can be times like you can plan, like we plan to have a conversation about what we're going to talk about or, you
Yeah.
know, the topic on the podcast. Or like with our kids, we're going to talk about what happened yesterday, you know, and even our son will be like, okay, so when I get home from school, this is what we're going to talk about. Like,
Yeah.
yes, we are going to talk
So
about
adamant
that,
about it.
right? So,
But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like sometimes, obviously, if something comes up, you're just going to start talking. You're not going to like, I have so much to say, but I'll go ahead and give you some time to get your thoughts together. So let's meet next week. Like, no, you're just going to start talking about it.
For the
and,
most part, that's how conversations go. They just, you know, they just start.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like I said, it wasn't so much that you didn't hear me. It was more of like you pretended like you did.
Yeah.
And then you just didn't bother asking, you know, like that to me made me feel a little like.
Yeah, and that's definitely, like we were saying, just a distracted mind, you know, in today's age of just like whatever, having the phone, you know, a text or an email or whatever, like just something like it just takes away. And then
I'm not going to lash at you if you know, if I say something to you and you like, you say, okay, wait, what? Okay, sorry, I wasn't even here. I'm not going to be like, oh my God, you're never here. Like I understand, like it happens, you know, we're not always 100% present, but I think if you take the time to acknowledge that, then like, okay, cool. Thanks for taking the time to come and, you know, checking in with me, you know? So, okay.
I know, huh?
All right, next one. Think about what you want to say, which we kind of talked. Well, no, we didn't.
I was
We
gonna
didn't cover that.
The other one I'd like to go down to. I mean, be clear about what you want to communicate. Like, well, yeah, like I guess that's gathering your thoughts, but like make the message clear so that your partner hears it accurately and understands what you mean. Because that's what I was saying. That started the whole idea for doing a thing on the communication was like saying it or saying it clearly and to make sure that they understand what you mean. Like in that case, that's hard because like when you say it, you're like, okay, this is how I perceive it, and I just figure that's how you're gonna take it. But it doesn't always work out that way. And like being clear, like this, I don't know, this kind of makes me think of the whole, and they do it a lot like in therapy, where it's just like you kind of reiterate just for confirmation, like, so what I'm hearing you say is, and then blah 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 blah. I mean, you don't want to do that for every single thing they say, but like if something is maybe vague or you just need better understanding of it, like it's better to just like say those words or at least something along those lines to like, I just want to confirm this is what you're saying because this is how I'm taking it, sort of thing, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you feel about this, but those two, think about what you want to say and be clear about what you want to communicate. I'm going to go back to what we just said, that conversations don't always happen like that, where you have the time to stop and think. And I'm going to just say that this is, okay, just, you know, just for example, like where all of a sudden we are arguing about something. I don't know, about the trash or something, you know. And, you know, now we're communicating and we don't really have time to stop and think like, what am I going to say? How am I going to communicate this? Unless this has been building up throughout the day. But I think it's kind of hard because sometimes what we're feeling, like we're not even really sure what we're feeling or how exactly, you know, how to communicate that. So sometimes I think the only responsibility we have is just to express ourselves. And I think through communication and conversation, clarity comes, you know? So for example, Derick and I had a situation about a week ago. We were talking, no, I'm sorry. We were kind of going through like the silent treatment, but Derick thought for some reason I was upset at him, and that I, thought that maybe he, I don't know, maybe he was upset or bothered or, whatever. And there wasn't a whole lot of communication that was going on and kind of the silent treatment. And finally, I left to the gym and I sent him a message and I just told him, I'm sorry that I've been giving you the silent treatment. And then I just started to really express myself. And it wasn't until I opened up and started to communicate that I realized why I was quiet. I realized why I was upset, that really had nothing to do with you. It was just what I was feeling inside. So I think that sometimes if you overcomplicate it and you want to plan out your whole conversation, it can almost discourage you from communicating at all.
From really opening up.
From really opening it up, because sometimes you just have no clue what's going on. You just feel a certain way, and it's all kinds of different emotions. And maybe in a way you might feel upset at your spouse or your partner, but really it has nothing to do with them. Once you start opening up, then you're like, oh, okay, this is what's really going on.
Yeah.
So I think just sometimes not really overthinking it. Maybe like allowing yourself some time just to kind of calm down a little bit, but at least giving yourself that opportunity to like open up and just express, okay, this is what I'm feeling right now. And as you begin to express, then you start realizing, okay, this is what's really going on. It really has something to do with the other person. So,
and that's big, like in an argument, because like you said, like if you get mad, to immediately, sometimes it will just come out and just be blurted out, whatever. But you're responding from an emotional state, or you're just responding 100% emotion and like 0% brain, or
right.
to like analytical thinking. So like you want to kind of maybe take a second there to like gather yourself or let your emotions calm down, so that you can, because you should always answer. Doesn't tend to happen a lot because we're very triggered people, or like we get excited about something, but like you should always try to answer things or have conversations 50-50, like emotions and analytical thinking.
Yeah, for sure. And then the next one says, make your message clear so that your partner hears it accurately and understands what you mean. I'll go back to what I just said. Sometimes you run into conversations or situations where you're not exactly sure what might be going on internally. I think, again, just initiating conversation and communication, I think, can make a world of a difference and help both of you, gain clarity into the situation. So, making your message clear, I think the only way to achieve that is just to get clear with what you're feeling and with what is going on within you internally, and just expressing that freely. And in order that to happen, we need to offer a safe place for one another. I mean, that's really the only way. And again, I'll say, we're not just talking about in a marriage or, in an intimate relationship. We're talking about
friendship or
a friendship. I mean, I had a situation with our coach where we both had to really stop and, okay, let's just really, what's going on?
Let's really communicate.
And he actually initiated it. He called me and he's like, it's better for us to talk, if we can in person, at least over the phone, so we can hear our tone, we can hear, our concerns, and it's important. We've just gotten lost in technology with texting, and and it's just it's gotten so messy.
Yeah.
So
I like what you said. Like, that's kind of makes me think too. Like when you said like making sure it's clear, like that starts with you, in the sense of like understanding what you're feeling and what you're thinking, and then communicate it. So to be clear, but it's like, that's not the easiest thing for most people to do. Like because you just mentioned earlier, like sometimes you don't really know what you're thinking or why you're feeling something, and then you just kind of figure it out when you start talking. Like that's kind of the situation for most people. Like we're walking around not really knowing like how we think or how we feel. So like kind of working on yourself to like be able to do that for yourself is a step in order to have good communicator, or be a good communicator in your marriage or friendship or relationships, whatever. So it's like anything else. Like you have to fix you, or you have to work on you so that you're confident in yourself, or that you understand yourself before you're expected to understand your spouse, or your partner. Like it's a whole different person with a different history and thought. So understanding ourselves is hard enough than to try and figure
Yeah.
out someone else.
And it goes really well with the next point. Talk about what is happening and how it affects you.
Yeah.
And
So,
again, we were talking about when there was that misunderstanding between you and I with the silent treatment. I had a lot going on, and it wasn't until I began to express it that I realized, like, oh, okay, so this is how this is affecting me,
yeah.
and this is how now it's affecting you. But it takes I it takes a lot of emotional maturity to be able to get to that point. And I don't say that I'm so emotionally mature. No, but I've gone through a lot of different things that I've expressed myself in a very immature way many, many times, that I finally realized, like, I don't want to keep doing that, because
Yeah.
it's just sending us down this crazy cycle of arguing, silent treatment.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, it's
know,
always like it's always misunderstandings or just maybe not thinking. I don't know what the word is. I always get words just leave as soon as I want to start talking. But anyways, it's like how it says like what's happening and how it affects you. So like something could be happening that maybe your partner or spouse doesn't even consider like important. Not that it's not important, but they just don't recognize it because it's something that you feel like it's a trigger from your childhood or something, and you need to be able to clearly explain to him or her like this is what's happening and this is why I feel this way, like because it's not the spouse's fault. Like they had no idea that that would be something that upsets you or makes you think of something. So but yeah, talking, that's why you use that communication time to clearly identify and like say this is what's happening, this is why I feel this way about it.
and I mean, the thing is that, and I know that people have said this in the past, but I don't think it's said enough, where communication takes a lot of vulnerability. And I don't know why I just got this image of, like, every time you communicate, it's like you take a piece of clothing off, you kind of like, you're exposing yourself more
Yeah.
and more and more. And eventually you're both sitting there with like hardly any clothes on. And now you're like, oh, okay, now I can see, this is why maybe when I say this, you take it this way. Maybe, when you say this, I take it this way. But it takes work, and you have to be willing to be vulnerable and really expose yourself in ways that you've never done in the past. But it can be a complete game changer
Yeah.
for the relationship. And again, you have to create a safe place,
Yeah.
just like I'm not trying to take it to that route, but just like sex, like, it's just, if you're not comfortable and if you don't feel safe, it's not gonna be a good experience.
Yeah.
And to me, conversation is just as intimate as being in a sexual relationship, because I know it sounds crazy, but the reason I say that is because, and obviously I am talking about an intimate relationship between you and I, between husband and wife, or partners. I feel that I'm going to tell you things that I've never told anyone before.
Yeah.
So same way that I would do things with you in an intimate relationship that I'm not going to do with other people, so there has to be that safe environment. If there's not, then I'm sorry, I'm not going to share that part of me with you,
Yeah.
so I know that took a little bit of a turn,
No,
but
but
I
like-
just I want to people to understand how important it is to offer that safe place.
Yeah, and having that safe place will be the only way that a person that maybe is battling with certain things will feel comfortable enough to like talk about it.
Yeah.
and be able to communicate it. And it goes with the next two, or it goes with the next one about like talk about what you want and feel and need. So that is hard for some people in the sense that they're like people pleasers, or they don't know how to ask, like, hey, this is happening to me and I need you to do this, or I need this, or I feel like, something. So like it's hard for them to even do that. So again, having a history of like good communication, or just like having a safe place to, in a safe environment will allow that person to actually like, they don't normally speak up, but they're going to speak up, at least in this conversation. So, because it's hard. Like that whole, when I read that one, it was like, to make sure you tell them what you want, need, and feel. Like that's not very easy sometimes.
There's steps that need to be taken before you get to that place of tell them, tell them what you need, tell them how you feel. Because I feel like in most relationships, there's a giver and there's a taker. And, when you are, okay, I'll say this. I feel like in a way I can be the taker and you can be the giver because it's just the personalities that we have.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that I won't ever give, but the dynamic of our relationship has somehow flowed that way because I can be very, very dominant. And now that you're not a dominant person, but you're just, your personality is different. I'm very aggressive and you're more passive.
Yeah.
So I can say that I'm more of the taker and you tend to be the giver, but I realized that about myself this year, and our conversations have really began to now change now that I've realized that, because most of the time in the past when we would argue, it would be me expressing what you're not doing, right? Like, would you agree? So this year, I think a lot of that changed because I began to see like, well, crap, maybe he's not giving because there's a part of me that also doesn't give. There's a part of me that withholds certain things because I feel that, well, he should do this or he should do that, So if we continue this dynamic of like, well, I need you to do this and I need you to do that, there's so much room for resentment at that point, right? So I think, again, and then this is why I say emotional maturity, because if you're not aware of that, then you're going to be in that crazy cycle for a very long time. And eventually that other person's going to be like, well, the hell with you. I ain't giving you shit anymore, because I don't know what else you want from me at some point, and I don't think it has to be 50-50. I think it's just whatever works for that relationship, whatever agreement you guys come down to. It's not always going to be 50, maybe one day 60, maybe one day 70. Exactly. Who knows, but anyways, my point is that you have to understand that if you're going to ask for something, then you need to know what you're willing to give back also. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that you're like,
well, I did this for you, so you have to like you're definitely not, don't do that.
Don't do that. That's not what I'm saying. But you have to also see what gives me the right to demand from this person. Am I also willing to give the same way that I'm asking this person to give? I don't know. Maybe some people will agree, maybe they won't. I don't know. But I just feel like there has to be a certain order to when to express your needs or your wants, right? So yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. I think that kind of goes in with like that the next one where it says accepting responsibility of your own feelings. So it's like you can't go into it like, well, I read that the next conversation I have, I am just gonna freaking vomit all my emotions and all my thoughts and everything I'm feeling and why I'm upset. And that should just be, then everything will be better because it's out now in the open. It's like, no, you have to be responsible for what you spew out. You can't just throw up all over the floor and not help clean it up. Like you're gonna, you kind of have to like, I'm gonna say everything that I want, but then expect that there's gonna be a response to that, and I would imagine a long conversation. It's not like spewed out and then it's over.
Yeah, and also learn to read the room. Yeah. Like how is this person feeling right now? How is this? Because sometimes I think, especially for women, we tend to be more just emotionally driven. So we go off of our.
No.
I'm not even gonna. Anyways, we tend to go off of what we're feeling, our emotions. And we think that everyone else is kind of feeling that or needs to understand that. And it's not like that,
Yeah.
you know?
Everyone
so,
needs to understand how I'm feeling right now. Like,
you know, and especially, I'll just throw this in there really quick, like, especially me, like, I'm in my 40s now, so there's a lot of emotional things that are, like, starting to, like, come up and change, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm turning into a crazy person, and I have to stop myself and be like, okay, Jess, this has nothing to do with him, or my neighbor, or my dogs, or my kids, like, you're just really feeling a lot of emotions right now. So if Derek walks in the room and I just start attacking him, that's really unfair for him, you know? So I have to really like, okay, collect yourself and, you know, let's start sorting these feelings out before you start dumping them on someone that really is just an innocent bystander passing by, you know? So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Really quick too, I want to get these in before we got to go, but like one of them obviously it says like listen to your partner, like put away your thoughts and try to really understand, like having empathy. That's obviously very, very important. Like the whole thing is like a good communicator is also a very good listener, and like it's true, like because a lot of people suffer from I'm just waiting for it's my turn to talk again, like in a conversation, like, and again it's just maybe our brains nowadays where we're just constantly needing to be like stimulated or just going, like if the art of listening is an actual like art like it's hard, you know, but it's something that you practice to get better at, because it's key for being in a conversation so that you can actually respond, you know, in something that is, you know, like called for.
I did that just in the beginning of this podcast. I didn't even realize that you read the first topic because I was so like, I didn't. Oh my god, I get it. I
want
gotta
to
talk about.
Ooh,
I
I'm
can't
so excited.
wait. I'll throw this fool in the freaking fire right now. Like that's
I know.
all I was thinking.
As soon as I hit
And then
record,
I
you were
was
like, "Well,
oh,
I'm going to
shit,
bring up that
he
one
did
time."
read that. Yeah. So you know, I mean, I'll expose myself. That's fine. But yes, for sure. Like, okay, I like honestly. I think the more and more that but see, this is the reason why we're just like, you need to communicate, because the more and more you communicate, the more you understand, like you begin to find your own flow of like communication and what works best for you.
Practice it to become good. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Like you practice, you know, and you begin to understand like, okay, he communicates better in this environment. I communicate better in this environment. Now we can kind of meet halfway, you know. We tend to communicate really well when we go on our walks.
Yeah.
You know, or in mornings when we're having our coffee. We understand this is probably the best time to bring something up.
Yeah.
There's been times where we don't talk all day and then we go for a walk with the dogs, and then it just I wouldn't say it forces us, but it allows us to like, okay, all right, I got to talk about something, because one, I hate awkward silence. I go insane. And two,
I don't know how we did it for so many years, like where we would, I mean, we weren't like silent to each other for years, but I meant like,
give silent treatment.
Yeah, like just have spouts of that.
Was
and it
like
was just
hell.
like the worst.
It was so hurtful and painful. Like I don't know why we
Right?
did that to each other.
I almost seemed like it would not be healthier, but like a couple that just constantly always yelled and like screamed at each other.
Yes.
It's
Sometimes
like, man,
I wish
maybe
we
that
would
might be
just
better.
fight. Sometimes
Like,
I wish
instead
we
of the
would just
silence.
fight, like, because then at least we were saying something, and there was like
I thought you
some
meant like physically fight, like you wanted to hit me.
Okay.
I feel threatened.
You're so dumb.
I thought this was a safe place.
Sometimes I wish we would just yell or scream, because at least there was some communication and there wasn't so much mystery behind what was going on.
It doesn't matter anymore. We don't ever fight because we're the perfect couple,
we're so
right?
perfect. I told you guys, we're grown. We're woke. We're so
We're
woke.
so grown. And then the last one really quick, there's a couple other ones, but the last one that stands out to me is like, be aware of your tone, because I think we were talking about that too, like,
yeah,
and that's kind of a gimme, like, you know, if you just sound angry or sound annoyed, it might just be, even though like what you said, like, I mean, it's just obvious things like, are you having a good time? Like, yeah, I'm having so much fun. Like, obviously the words you said,
monotone,
you know, if someone was reading it, like, as you know, they'd be like, oh, that person said they're having so much fun, but like how you heard it, obviously you're not. So that could be even in just how you talk, like when you're communicating about something, like if your wife's bringing up something that's important to her and you just say something, but you can just tell in your tone, like you're not that interested or it's not as important to you, like that'll be a thing that could be painful. So, be aware of, and I think it talks about like body language too, like when, like how to talk to people, like look at them in the eyes and like have an open, stance to them or something, like,
Yeah.
it's all of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, just definitely, I think the most important one is just like how you say something is, it could make someone lean one way or another to how they're going to accept that. So,
And again, I'll take it back to the whole what you say, like your first initial response can say a whole lot.
oh yeah.
A whole lot about, how you're feeling, what you're thinking. And I feel like we might have to go into a whole, maybe we'll make a part 2 about this with, bringing other people into the room, because sometimes, like you said, there could be you just tapped into a past version of me, and now you're talking to,
Yeah.
I don't know,
It's like,
20-year-old Jessica.
I got
that
23-year-old Jess. Like, that was
yeah,
when she was crazy.
that, just got dumped, and now you triggered a whole side of me. So my first response is going to be probably be very defensive, so yeah. And again, I think at the end of the day, the more you communicate, the more you talk, the more you become aware. And I think that's something that you mentioned. We didn't mention it here, but also, I'm trying to think, how can I say this? Not that you need to analyze your spouse or your partner or whoever it is that you're in a conversation with, but just have some awareness of like, okay, I know this tends to bother them if I say this, or I know this usually tends to trigger a really big argument. Just be aware, like we said earlier, read the room, understand who you're talking to. You're not tiptoeing, that's not what I'm saying, but just have a little bit more awareness, get to know the person at a deeper level, so then now you can learn to communicate. And you're not catering to this person, but you respect this person and you love this person, so you want to get the most out of the conversation. But yeah, I think how you begin the conversation can really make or break it, so you can get the most of it if you just speak clearly, you speak honestly, and you allow that person to do the same. And I think it can just, I don't know. I think it changed. I think it not only changed our relationship, it really did save us from probably divorce and just hating each other.
Well,
because,
I was going to say, like, I'm glad that we're at a place where we understand the importance of it so much that we want to share it. And that's what we're doing. Because we implement that in our day-to-day of just, like, being able to talk and stuff. I'm just glad, looking back, like how far we have grown, because in the beginning, for a long time being into our marriage, we literally only, I mean, more so myself, only wanted to talk about anything that was important or how I was feeling by being drunk. Like, that was the only way that I could actually express anything. And needless to say, I wasn't the most clearest sounding or getting my point across person while being inebriated.
Or by the time it was time for me to communicate, you were just passed out.
Yeah.
And then I would just look at you like, I am going to murder this guy one of these days. And I
definitely would be in conversations all emotion, like had no analytical thinking whatsoever. I was just, this is how I feel. And
yeah, guys, don't do that.
Yeah. So
just
don't be that. Don't be that, Derick. But
don't use anything other than yourself and your want and desire to make this relationship or situation work to help you communicate. Yeah. Because if you're gonna bring in other substances, I'm sorry,
your brain's really, already jacked up enough to get emotional enough.
It mixes up a whole lot of things. And we did it for years. Yeah. Years. We were good at talking. We really were, but we talked a lot of bullshit. We really did. And
nothing of substance.
And we waited until we were just belligerent drunk to all of a sudden, let's talk about the real shit. Like, how were we ever going to fix anything? We didn't. And it wasn't until we understood the importance of being sober-minded and clear on exactly what it was that we were feeling that now it just changed. Now, and I'll say that we're not masters of communication, but we're definitely getting better.
Yeah.
And enough to be able to communicate with you guys.
Yeah, we be spoken so good.
We
be spoken good.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely happy that we can share all of our stuff, since I just got called out today. But,
I called myself out too. You're welcome to call me out. I am not going to get offended. But when this is,
I can't. I'll be nice while that record button's on. As soon as you hit stop. Mother.
No. I honestly, I think being completely honest on here with not just, you, but whoever's listening.
Yeah.
It's just a way of me holding myself accountable to the things that I want to change.
Again, when you're talking things out, you begin to realize things and okay, let go of some things. So if you got to do it on a podcast, then do it on a podcast. Whatever you got to do.
Yeah, it's here. I have proof,
All right, guys, we are going to wrap it up. Thank you for being here on our first show back again.
So excited. Well, I'm so excited.
No.
I'm so excited. There's so many things.
Promise an exact schedule, but more often than.
How about would you rather? We're still.
Let's just take baby steps, babe.
Those are so fun. Okay.
I mean, if you're dedicated to doing it, then we can do it.
We'll communicate about it.
Yeah, let's communicate later.
Yeah, later.
Give you some time to gather your thoughts. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you got some knowledge nuggets there. And we hope to see you back next time.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Have a great day.
Bye.